Lord, you are my shepherd, and I shall not want.
David, the writer of Psalms 23, was a shepherd in his youth. But please note, this psalm is written from the perspective of the sheep. So when David writes as Yahweh as his shepherd, David envisions God as his provider and protector, but also his king and his leader. David, who came from shepherd to king, writes, "With the Lord as my shepherd, I lack nothing." His words are in contrast to our consumer society, where we constantly are being told we have to buy new stuff to be appealing, to be better, to be happy. In this passage, David recognizes the source of his blessings, that his provider for actual needs is Yahweh. The grateful king is describing God's relationship to him in terms of a kindly shepherd's relationship to one of his sheep. First, he understands that the shepherd leads his flock, guiding them along a path so that they can get rest, so that they can eat, and so that they will be safe. David, who had experienced ups and downs in his career and in his life, reaffirms here that even in our times of insecurity, that our God will lead us. David, the shepherd, knows that sheep lie down to rest only after they have been fed. At a time when real hunger was common, David writes that God provides adequate food to eat, still water to drink, and his bounty is so much that they can rest without worrying and they can focus on God. So you have to ask yourself the question, what is the shepherd's motivation in this psalm? It can't be money. God has everything. David asserts the motivation is his reputation. His compassion is motivated by a desire to be known by his sheep, by his flock. Just as parents are sometimes evaluated by the way they care for their children, shepherds are judged by the condition of their flock. David was a man who had faced challenges in his life. Remember, a jealous King Saul sought to kill him. So David warns us that we may face trials and tribulations. Christians are not promised a pain-free life, but David says we have no reason to fear if we stay in the presence of God and follow his path, for he is motivated to care for us because he wants us to know him. In this song of praise, David writes about dark and dangerous places, but then he reminds us that our shepherd holds the power to protect us in his hand. His rod and staff are instruments designed to protect us from forces that would hurt us, and they're designed to discipline us so that we will be motivated to walk along the right path and keep us safe. In the first 4 verses, David describes his relationship with God like a shepherd and a sheep. Now, in the remainder of Psalms, David describes his relationship in terms of hospitality and a host. The relationship of a host with his guests, even closer than that of a shepherd with his sheep. In the Bedouin law of hospitality, it tells us that no greater security or comfort could be obtained by a traveler in ancient times than to be offered hospitality in the tent of a shepherd. This offer was a provision of shelter, food, fellowship, and a guarantee of protection from harm. The table prepared in the presence of David's enemy was the host's public announcement not to attempt to molest David in any way. David is in essence saying that his host was a man of influence and generosity, of prestige and power, so much so that even in the face of enemies surrounding him, he could set out a table and enjoy the bounty of his host without fear. In essence, he was protected by God even in the face of threat. In this song of praise, David wants people to know how generous God is. He says, he rubs oil, anoints my head with oil, and the cup was running over with oil. He is so generous. In this imagery, God is the provider, abundantly supplying satisfaction and security, grace and fellowship. Having been accepted in the tent of the Most High God, David confidently summarizes his psalm by saying he has a secure feeling. David proclaims that I know God's goodness and his love was so great. Why should I ever leave the tent? So I'm going to be here forever. The blessings and peace which David experiences in his life and expresses in this psalm would be a delight for any of us. But how can we be assured that we would have this in our lives? The answer is simple. In order to enjoy the benefits of the care of God, the Good Shepherd, we must be one of his sheep. For John tells us, my sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And I give eternal life to them, and they shall never perish, and no one shall snatch them out of my hand. That's the lesson for this week. You have a great week. Bye.